of our infrastructure is oriented around cars as a way of getting everywhere and doing anything. Homes are centrally heated and centrally air conditioned with every kind of convenience and electric and electronic gadget that we can desire, which is a marvelous thing, so long as it will last.
For most of the 20th century, Michigan's economy was based on creating machines that consumed fossil fuels. Ironically, the state's economic future may be driven by technologies that reduce our consumption of oil, natural gas, and coal.
Our energy sources, the energy of our economy is going to change. That it's not an option of, do we want to change? Do we want to keep the status quo? The status quo is unsustainable.
Michigan imports 100% of its coal and uranium, 96% of its oil and petroleum, and 75% of its natural gas. To address our state's energy dependence, Governor Granholm has called for the creation of the 21st Century Energy Plan by the end of this year.
Right now, this is a moment for a state like Michigan in particular to really focus on diversifying our economy into renewable energy and renewable fuels.
The 21st Century Energy Plan will contain recommendations for energy efficiency, renewable and alternative energy, and ensuring an adequate supply of energy. The person in charge of putting the plan together is the chairman of the Michigan Public Service Commission, J. Peter Lark.
I'm confident that in 2007 the legislature is going to act, and I believe they're going to act on several pieces of what I recommend. I believe they probably would act even in the absence of the report. I think renewable energy and renewables are ideas whose time has come.
One of the key elements that will be in Lark's recommendation is a renewable portfolio standard. 21 other states have already adopted such standards. An RPS, as it's known, requires that a certain percentage of energy consumed in a state comes from renewable sources.
I think that our state is very comparable to what we see in Wisconsin right now. They have a 10% RPS, and their wind development is, taken off there. And I think Michigan can really relate to what's happened there in Wisconsin with their wind development, as well as their solar production tax credit, where they're paying people 22 cents a kilowatt hour right now to bring solar electricity online. And they're sort of a model for us to look at and try to figure out how Michigan can do the same thing.
While Michigan has yet to pass an RPS, there is increasing interest in renewable energy within the state. Over 2,000 people attended this year's Michigan Energy Fair in Manistee County. It's a chance for attendees to learn about renewable energy from panel presentations and meet with over 60 vendors.
We install renewable energy systems all over the state of Michigan. Here's our brochure.
Business is pretty good these days for Mark Bauer's solar and wind power company, but he says it could be much better with strong political leadership.
Our representatives need to understand that to bring Michigan's economy around, we need to find other alternatives for making money here in our state. And alternative energy and renewable energy is a key to that. We think that if our legislator can work with corporations to encourage their growth here in the state, and the state can then create incentives for the homeowners and business people to get renewable energy, the combination of those two things will be very, very synergistic in our world and in Michigan.
Although much of America has been slow to get behind renewable energy, incentives to adopt renewables in other parts of the world are having an impact on Michigan businesses like United Solar Ovonic in Auburn Hills.
In Germany, all the customers pay a nominal surcharge to their utility rate. And what happens then is that that surcharge is funding the deployment of large volume of photovoltaic panels.
To meet the global demand, 3 miles of high-tech unisolar panels are produced here in one day. These flexible panels are made from rolls of stainless steel covered with a thin layer of photovoltaic cells, which convert energy from the sun into electricity. The cells are so sensitive they can generate small amounts of electricity from moonlight. The panels can be used with metal roofing and as shingles. The popularity of the unisolar product has led the company to open another plant in Auburn Hills. And with the completion of 2 larger plants in Greenville, Michigan, its production will increase another 200%.
By the end of 2008, we are going to have much larger capacity than what we have today.
4 additional plants may be added in the future at the Greenville site. Each plant would require about 200 employees, and Dr. Guha believes far more jobs could be created if Michigan and the United States followed the lead of Germany.
If the largest market is in Germany, which does not get any more sunshine than Michigan gets, Michigan can emerge as the largest market also. But it really depends on the people of Michigan. It also depends on the leadership. I told you the example of Germany. It's not as if the German government is spending the money. German government is the enabler, if you like. They are persuading the utilities, and the people are persuading the government. So supposing the people in Michigan say, we don't mind spending 1 cent a kilowatt or more on our electricity bill, provided that is used to promote use of photovoltaic. You will find Michigan deployment of PV would be as large as that in Germany.
Currently, homeowners can get up to $2,000 in federal tax credits for solar installation, but there are no state incentives at this time. According to research contained in the Renewable Energy Policy Project, Michigan ranks 4th in the nation for manufacturing potential of wind energy components. While this potential is far from being realized, K&M Fabricating in Cassopolis is already profiting from this sector. With over 300,000 square feet of large-scale fabricating and machining space, K&M services 2 of the world's largest producers of commercial wind turbines.
Here at K&M Machine, we specialize in fabricating and machining of heavy off-road construction components, mining equipment, railroad industry work, as well as wind power, wind generation components.
The machining process for this 15,000-pound bed plate will take 2.5 days, but soon it will be resting on top of a 250-foot tower.
This is a part goes into the 2.0 megawatt machines. This is a cast iron ductile casting that was provided to K&M, in which we have done all the machining on it and final inspection.
While other manufacturers in the state have been laying off workers, K&M has doubled its workforce in the past 6 years, and K&M is looking to hire about 30 more workers this year. In addition to having good manufacturing potential for wind energy, Michigan ranks 14th in the nation in potential power generation from wind, even above alternative energy pioneer California. These farm fields in Huron County are not only fertile ground for crops, they could soon be home to one of the largest wind parks in the country. It's estimated that Huron County could produce at least 1,000 megawatts of power from wind. This would meet 5% of Michigan's current electricity requirements. 6 different companies are seeking to develop projects here that could harvest up to 600 megawatts of electricity. Full development of this resource would not only mean green energy for Michigan, but money in the pockets of local excavators, surveyors, construction companies, and especially farmers like Charlie Brawlett, who can make about $6,000 each year per turbine through leasing about half an acre of land.
There isn't a cash crop I can grow out there that will generate what we assume we can generate through this. So financially, it's a obvious win-win for me. I'm excited about it. I wish they were up today.
One of the developers, Noble Environmental Power, hoped to have these towers and blades up and running this past summer, with 25 more turbines to come, but the project has been on hold since July. Noble had planned to output its electricity using power lines owned by Detroit Edison, but DTE says this would subject it to federal regulations. DTE has requested an exemption from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that would allow it to provide delivery service for Noble and other wind developers. A spokesperson for DTE said if the exemption is granted, it will deliver power from Noble's wind park to the grid. In the meantime, the Blades, Hubs, Towers, and Noble employees will have to wait out a Michigan winter and a lot of red tape.
Everyone is anticipating when these beautiful pieces of equipment came in to seeing them up within, a month or two. Having to wait until next spring is hard all the way around.
Noble is also considering another option that would require $10 million worth of infrastructure to connect their turbines to the grid. Noble has been approved to supply up to 150 megawatts of power in their service area. In commenting on the delay, Governor Granholm emphasized the need to strongly support wind energy development.
We want to make sure that as a state we provide fertile ground for them to come to get the property tax credits for having produced and put up a windmill, to make sure that it makes a business case for them. So we don't want red tape to be impeding the development of alternative energy in Michigan. We want to be a partner in creating that here.
Currently, 3 commercial wind turbines operate in Michigan, but no new development has taken place since 2001, when Rich Vanderveen put up 2 turbines in Mackinac City. Vanderveen, however, is moving forward with a plan to install more turbines in Oceana County.
We have put several $1 million into this process here in Michigan and are waiting to have a good return on our investment. We are confident that's going to happen.
Vanderveen has secured the necessary lease agreements and zoning approvals in Oceana County for Phase 1 of the project. Regulators have also approved his wind energy company to supply enough power for nearly 40,000 homes. But not all wind projects are welcomed with open arms. Citizen groups have attempted to block development of wind projects in Wisconsin and in other states. Improperly sited, wind turbines can pose a threat to birds and bats. If placed too close to dwellings, noise and shadow strobe can affect residents. The blades can also throw ice during the winter. Given the sheer size of modern wind turbines, Vanderveen says it is essential to work with communities in selecting appropriate locations.
If it's done right, a wind power project can be well sited, doing the avian studies to be sure that we are not in a flight area. We also have addressed issues of noise, of flicker, of a range of other things that people put up as an objection through proper siting, proper setbacks, and again, working with people to say, it's not just wind or nothing, it's wind or what.
People have to understand we have this demand for energy, and if we aren't curbing that demand, then it's going to be met somehow. And so when there's a proposal to build, say, a wind farm, people locally may oppose that and say, well, we don't want it here, put it somewhere else. But what often happens is the wind farm doesn't get built somewhere else. What gets built instead is a coal-burning power plant. And we've got to stop letting the pursuit of the perfect interfere with the establishment of the good. There's no such thing as a gigawatt energy source that has no environmental impact.
Landfills also alter the landscape, and they also emit methane gas, which, if left to escape into the atmosphere, is 20 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. The Environmental Protection Agency requires landfill operators to recover the gas and, at minimum, flare it. But companies like Granger Environmental in Lansing not only recover methane, they use it to generate electricity.
It's captured by our gas collection system, which is a series of wells that are placed into the landfill. They're perforated pipes placed about every 100 feet. They're all interconnected, and then they're pulled in by a compressor here at our processing facility. Here, basically, we compress it, we filter it, and then we dry it. At this plant, we then put it into Caterpillar 3516 engine generator sets, which then create electrical energy, and then we thus put it on the grid.
Much of the electricity generated at Granger's plant is purchased by Consumers Energy as part of its Green Generation program, where customers can purchase energy from renewable sources at a slightly higher cost.
When customers participate in Green Generation, they're asked to pay 1.667 cents, just under 2 cents per kilowatt hour. We generally offer it in terms of renewable energy blocks, or it's a block of 150 kilowatt hours for $2.50, and that would be the minimum participation level.
So far, nearly 5,000 customers have signed up for the program since it began in September of 2005. Consumers Energy plans to add more green power from the new wind energy developments in Michigan. Just as methane is being recovered from landfills, an Upper Michigan business has plans to make biodiesel out of organic waste from wastewater treatment plants. The company is Ag Solutions. It's the brainchild of President Richard Vandevussy, who also owns a manufacturing plant that makes parts for wastewater treatment facilities.
I was sitting at a renewable fuels conference in Athens, Georgia, at the University of Georgia 3 years ago, when the light bulb went off, and I said biodiesel is an up-and-coming thing, and that's really the best use of this particular byproduct, the greases that we get out of cooked food plants and slaughterhouses and so forth.
While Ag Solutions will only require 6 or 7 employees, Vandevussy plans to build modular biodiesel plants at his Van Air manufacturing facility just down the road.
We thought when we built this plant, it would be a convenient place to build the plant with our manufacturing company here. We'd always have a small processing facility, a training, R&D facility, and we've been just amazed by, I don't think we could build a plant big enough here that would supply the demand for biodiesel.
A byproduct of making biodiesel is glycerin, and Vandevussy plans to use it to fuel the plant.
We configured our boiler to burn it. It's a combustible material. It burns cleanly. It's kind of thick and gooey, but it's something that the right boiler can handle. So we know we can get rid of it and run our whole process on it if we have to, and if that's the best use of it. We are investigating purifying it to pharmaceutical grade so that it can be used for hand creams and other industrial uses out there.
While Ag Solutions is looking to market its diesel fuel primarily for industrial purposes, Michigan has 3 operating ethanol plants and 2 more under construction to produce fuel for use in passenger vehicles. The State Director of Agriculture, Mitch Irwin, feels Michigan has an advantage when it comes to biofuels.
We have the second largest variety of crops in America, second only to California in terms of the number of commercial crops that we grow. So with our $60.1 billion industry in agriculture, merged and married with our $80 billion industry known as the automobile industry, the future couldn't be brighter.
But some environmental groups are wary of ethanol because about 70% of the energy value in a gallon of ethanol comes from fossil fuels used in its production. Mike Schreiberg of Environment Michigan also contends that ethanol has created a loophole for the auto industry.
They get credit from the federal government for every ethanol-capable vehicle that they produce. And when I say credit, I'm talking about credit on their fuel efficiency standards. Well, ethanol-capable vehicles actually help them meet the standard regardless of whether they run on it or not. So the net effect of this is for every ethanol vehicle that's produced, another SUV, which is less energy efficient, less fuel efficient, can be produced.
Schreiberg advocates improving fuel efficiency and conservation. One way the auto industry has improved fuel efficiency is with the introduction of hybrid models, and Ford Motor Company is conducting research on plug-in hybrids that would allow the vehicle to run farther in all-electric mode. But Ford engineer Tom Watson says don't expect to see them in the showroom in the near future.
When you try and take an energy-intensive battery like the battery electric Ranger had and combine it with the hybrid technology that we have in the Escape hybrid, you really end up with 2 complete powertrains in the vehicle. And that this time is not economically feasible. We are doing research in this area to try and figure out how do we best match and best optimize the system so that we can make an affordable proposition to a consumer, but at this time we haven't been able to do that.
Chrysler is currently testing a plug-in hybrid delivery van in New York. The lithium-ion battery pack can run the Sprinter 20 miles before the gas engine is turned on. According to the Electric Power Research Institute, half of the vehicles in America are driven less than 25 miles per day. With a range of 30 miles in all-electric mode, plug-in hybrids could significantly reduce gasoline consumption. Plug-in hybrids would also allow drivers to recharge their vehicles from alternative energy sources.
If you take a gas-electric hybrid car, add a second storage battery, and a plug-in capacity, Then you can plug the car in at night while you're sleeping, recharge the batteries, and we can do our short distance driving, daily commuting, grocery shopping, all that sort of thing with electricity. And if at the same time we're investing not in hundreds of wind farms across the country, but thousands of wind farms, then we're running our cars largely on wind energy and at a cost that's equivalent to less than $1 a gallon gasoline. What are we waiting for?
Plugging in a car is nothing new for Brian Dickens of Pigeon, Michigan, who powers his Daimler Chrysler Gem car with wind energy. But he says even without the wind turbine, going electric is very cost-effective.
If we were to actually buy the electricity, it would still only cost us about 1.9 cents per mile to charge it.
By comparison, the average gasoline-powered car today costs about 10 cents per mile to refuel. In addition to his wind turbine and electric car, Brian burns corn to heat his house, and he also makes homegrown biodiesel. And if that's not enough, he recently installed a wind farm at the local elementary school.
What we're looking at is a maximum capacity of 205 kilowatts for a 3-turbine wind farm. We're actually the largest public school wind farm in the nation as far as number of turbines. There are some schools out west that have larger turbines, but we have the most.
The turbines were purchased with a $265,000 grant from the Michigan Public Service Commission and private donations. Brian's wife, Kathy, works as a counselor for Laker schools, and she wrote the grants to fund this and other alternative energy projects for the students.
Boys and girls tell me all the time, I see one's moving and one's not. Why is that? Curiosity causes a lot of learning, and that's the part that really intrigues me. I enjoy that very much.
However, several days after we shot this footage in mid-September, Detroit Edison told Laker schools to shut the generators down. DTE said this was necessary to assess the safety and technical compatibility of the project. Initially, DTE told the school district it would need to spend over $50,000 in technical upgrades to get the turbines back online. But after several weeks of negotiations between DTE, Laker's schools, and the Michigan Public Service Commission, DTE agreed to cover all upgrade costs and help the district get the wind park up and running again. Residents on the western side of Lower Michigan will be getting a large dose of renewable energy in the near future. Grand Rapids Mayor George Hartwell has challenged his city to meet a 20% renewable energy standard by the year 2008.
It's certainly an exciting time to be in Grand Rapids right now. The development that's taking place downtown, as you look around our beautiful downtown area, is absolutely phenomenal. The health industry, the life sciences research industry is all growing and expanding in Grand Rapids. And as a result, the energy needs are growing and expanding here in our city. And so all these wonderful new buildings are going to be sucking up a lot of electricity, and it's going to be very, very important for us, not only that municipal government have a source of renewable energy, but also that the private sector is able to access green power as well.
Hartwell says the standard will be met primarily through energy conservation, methane recovery, and new wind power coming online. Hartwell hopes his city will become a model for how to revive the economy while going green.
I'm working with a Spanish company that builds wind turbines. They have manufacturing facilities in Spain, in the Netherlands, and in Germany. And I'm convinced we can bring this company to Michigan. But they say that they can't come if they don't have a guaranteed production of wind turbines in Michigan. And they're saying the only way we can know that there's a guaranteed production will be if there is a renewable portfolio standard. They're saying first RPS, then we invest $150 million in your state, and we create hundreds of jobs in your region. So the potential is there, the economic potential is there, and whether it's in manufacturing for wind turbines or in the production of renewable energy, I'm convinced that there's economic and good economic impact for us here in Michigan.
We need to have a balanced portfolio if we're going to reinstitute the entrepreneurial spirit in Michigan and reinvigorate our economy with new 21st century jobs.
The world's oil production will be peaking sometime in the next decade and perhaps in just the next couple of years. And that's going to dramatically reorder our priorities. North America is also on the verge of a natural gas shortage. And the combination of those two at the same time is going to force us to make some very hard decisions and very dramatic changes. The sooner we begin those changes, the easier the transition will be for us.
I believe that we've got a responsibility to generations 6, 7, 8 generations out. That's our obligation today, and so that's why we do this. We're thinking of the generations yet to be born who will depend on having available to them steady renewable sources of energy.